Hello, everyone. Megan Boitano, excited again for another edition of the RD to RD live show. This week, we are tackling the topic of creating a sales funnel and Facebook ads. Pretty big topic. We've got a lot to talk about today. But before we dive in, I always want to spend a little bit of time and share with you why the RD to RD live show exists. I'm very passionate about bringing tools and resources for dietitians that want to succeed in the digital world, in the online space. And what we do is unique as registered dietitians, and we bringing a voice to our wisdom. So we've covered a number of topics, everything from graphic design to running a challenge to creating marketing webinars. So all of these topics pertain to success in the online world. So each week I bring a different expert, most often a registered dietitian, but we will have some guests that are not, that answer our questions. And I spend a lot of time in advance researching and really trying to create a question list that kind of digs in and reveals information, but we'll also accept your questions as well. So the RD to RD live show is every week, 1 o'clock Wednesdays on the RD to RD Facebook page. So this week, as I mentioned, we have Luisa McClure, and I am really excited to dive into this topic because it's something that, you know, some things are kind of like a three-headed serpent monster. And for me, the topic of sales funnels and the whole Facebook advertising editor, I'm not even sure what to call it, the business editor, is difficult. I think as a nutrition business owner, figuring out kind of the marketing and then also when and where to make that investment in paid advertising. How do I know if I'm going to get my money back? These questions are difficult to answer. And so this is what we're going to dig into today. So before I start barraging Luisa with questions, I wanted her to give us some background about how she developed this niche of sales funnels and paid advertising on Facebook. So a little bit about your background and then talk to us about your business, wishfunnels.com.
Sure. So my education actually started with marketing and business management the first time I went to college. And I've been an entrepreneur most of my career in that kind of entrepreneur setting. And I guess it was a little over 10 years ago, I decided I had a life-changing experience and decided I wanted to follow my passion, which was nutrition, and decided to go back to school and get my master's degree. At that time, I owned my own business, and being an entrepreneur, I was able to change things up a little bit, and it gave me the flexibility to do it part-time, so I was able to go back and get my master's degree, do my dietetic internship, and work in the dietetics field. It was when my husband and I moved cities that I opened an online nutrition business, and I started really diving into new marketing techniques and that whole digital marketing, online marketing, Facebook advertising. And, you know, I just consumed everything I could possibly consume on it, and decided to really invest in myself and invest in high-level trainings as well as high-level masterminds to really become an expert in it. And it was during that time that I realized I kind of did a full circle, because I started off in marketing, and I decided that I really wanted to focus on that and help other online entrepreneurs with their marketing, especially dietitians, because I feel like they're such experts in their field, and they can be a great help to the people that they serve, but they really find the marketing, as you stated before, overwhelming and confusing. Where do I start? So that's where wishfunnels was started. It was from doing that whole journey over a period of time and realizing that that's what I really loved, and my passion was really rooted in that marketing and helping others learn about it and also teach it in an understandable kind of way.
Yeah. I recently attended your Facebook ads workshop, and you said you enjoy teaching and really the high-level training that you've done. And literally, I was blown away at what I learned in that time we spent together. And really, it's made a measurable difference that, information that I have now that I didn't. And I was really had this light bulb came on. I'm like, I want to get Luisa's knowledge out to my community because we're not good at this. And so I'm so grateful that you said yes when I asked you to come on and, tackle the questions kind of at a basic level. One thing, when I talk to experts, I find that your knowledge is so deep that sometimes it's hard to keep up. It's hard to really make the topic understandable. So that's my goal for, today. The questions that I put together are really to help us really get a basic understanding so that we can, this is a journey. I think you mentioned that this, you're not going to learn everything you need to know in certainly an hour workshop or even a month of learning. So the whole goal today is going to be very basic.
Very true.
So let's just dig in, and we'll give you a chance to talk a little bit more about wish funnels and some things as we go along. So I want to start first and foremost and talk about Facebook advertising is kind of one part of an overall sales funnel. So I really want to start at the beginning. What exactly is a sales funnel, and how does paid advertising fit in that? If we're, let's demystify this word sales funnel.
Well, a sales funnel is simply the customer's journey from the moment they set eyes on you and your business, and then all of the interactions you have that sends them down this customer journey until they make a decision to buy from you and become your client. So it's not a big scary thing, but there are definitely strategies that you can put in place to make it more of a guided journey. And so there's a number of phases in a sales funnel. There's the very first phase that Facebook ads has a major role in is that attraction and magnetize stage, where you're trying to get as many eyes on your business as possible to see what you're about and start engaging and start having that conversation with them. And then once, that could be by offering a freebie, getting them to opt into your email list. You're kind of getting out there, showing your stuff to as many of your ideal audience as possible and drawing them in. And then you go through that nurture, and I'm sure you've heard this before, that whole know, like, and trust that everybody talks about. And so you really are starting a conversation where you're putting out a marketing message, your message of what you're all about, your beliefs, and how you help people. And they're listening to that and seeing, is this the right person for me? Is this the person that can help me with my issues and my problems? And so that is the nurture phase, where they're slowly getting to know a little bit more about you, figuring out if they like you or not, and then finally if they trust you. And then you move on into this third phase of when you start inviting them to work with you. And it's, you feel you've grown in that relationship enough and warmed them up enough where you feel comfortable that you can start inviting them to work with you and say, hey, I can, this is how I serve the people that I work with. And then finally, the fourth stage is the actual convert or conversion stage, where they make that decision whether or not they want to work with you. So a sales funnel, when done correctly, is a very guided path that kind of keeps them focused and moving along at a more, accelerated rate. You want to kind of keep that process going as quickly as possible. So
I think, I'm always the first person on these interviews to say, I don't know it all, and I don't know what I'm doing. So I think for me, it's that middle part. So I understand, because I browse Facebook, I see the opt-ins, I see other people's sponsored posts, that going from, well, you clicked on my ad to step 4. Let's work together. And I think there's this huge gap in my own personal knowledge going from, okay, I kind of understand how to do an opt-in and then say, hey, buy from me, but all that stuff in the middle and how to do it, you said make it happen a little bit more rapidly. Is this a common, am I alone in this feeling, or am I pretty normal?
No, it is pretty overwhelming, but, you're just what you're trying to do is guide them down a path and be very clear on your messaging. So everything is kind of cohesive, so that you don't confuse people. So every time that you do interact with them, they kind of know what you're about, and you're not throwing different things at them where they get confused and then they're, well, is this the right person for me or not? So it depends. There are certain people, there's going to be a certain percentage of people that as soon as they see you, instantly they know, you know what, this is the person for me. And then other people take a longer period of time to warm up. And those are the people that you continue to interact with. And Facebook ads actually, it works at the beginning of the funnel to draw people in, but you can actually use Facebook ads in other phases of your funnel to keep that conversation going too. Whether it's giving more content and bringing it to your audience that you already have on your list, or reminding them about certain things. You may have had a training, for instance, and and you might send an ad out to people who signed up for that training and say, hey, don't miss the replay, kind of thing. So there's different places that you can use ads in order to kind of keep that journey going and keep warming them up. And you've probably heard that it takes 7 to 15 touch points for someone to make a purchase decision. That's kind of the average, they say. So while some people make a decision right away, the whole sales funnel process and ads with it, paired with it, it gets you those touch points and keeps things moving along. So that's kind of how it comes away.
So you've mentioned that word a lot, ads, and I think I want to dig into, we're going to talk a little bit more about ads, but I just want to be the, devil's advocate to say, perhaps, do I really have to do a sales funnel? Can I be successful, without one? And, you work with people who I'm sure, have been working really hard, putting out lots of content and working very hard, but maybe not getting the results that they want. And really understanding, can you be successful without one? And why do people end up going, ugh, let's do this?
I think it comes down to you can get clients without a sales funnel. There's no question about that. And there's different ways of getting sales customers. I think what it comes down to is you just get maxed out on time, and it's just it's kind of like by chance marketing, and you are doing everything and really going crazy, trying, that hustling and trying to get more people to see you. And it's not a very efficient way to spend your time or efficient way to market. So if you want to grow your business and you want to have long-term success, I think you have to have a more predictable way of getting people into your business and kind of nurturing them. So that's where the sales funnel comes into place. You're setting up that foundational marketing system that really is going to support you and allow you to save time and pull away and do things that, more in your zone of genius. I think a lot of times when you start this entrepreneur journey nutrition business, you think, oh, it's going to be great working with people. And then what ends up happening is like you're working 20% with people, and the other 80% of the time you're like hustling, trying to just get clients. So I think that's why sales funnel is really important piece that I believe just enhances your business and allows you that growth and that freedom to kind of do the things that you really want to do.
Yeah. I think, the words and that, you want it to be predictable, and that ultimately, you want people to know, like, and trust you, and that it's not about, it's not about tricking them. We're not tricking them. We're following tried and true, just like we do with nutrition science, that there is a way to approach any situation we do from a nutrition angle that, we aren't necessarily trained in marketing. You have a background that's very unique, and that, dietitians and other health professionals or, come to, work with you. What would you say is the primary motivating reason that people show up and they say, Luisa, help me design a sales funnel for my business?
I think it goes back to what I said. They realize that, it's not their forte, and that they're spending 80% of their time on it, trying to figure it out. And it's just really overwhelming to the point where it's exhausting. And They're kind of doing all of these things, but to market themselves, but they may not have a cohesive marketing message. And so they're not helping themselves, they're hindering themselves. And they're, maybe doing a lot of blogging and social media posting and stuff, which is great. It helps with visibility. But if you don't have the pieces in place the right way, then it can become really overwhelming. And it also causes they come to me when it's that roller coaster ride where their income isn't stable and they get referrals one month, they have a great month and they think, oh, this is great. And then the next month comes along and those referrals don't come in and you hear crickets. So I think that's when it's like, okay, we got to set up some sort of foundational base where it's more predictable. And with, kind of like a sales funnel in the Facebook ads, you kind of have this in place where you can kind of turn the faucet on and off. And so you can have a little bit more control over it yourself as opposed to it kind of controlling you. And you kind of like, oh my God, I hope so-and-so refers someone to me.
So let's go back to talking about your, mentioning that nurturing phase in the middle. And is that something we talk about email list building. Is this something that happens primarily through an email campaign, or is this, you said like 7 to 15 touch points, I'm not sure if that's the right number, that someone may see you on a Facebook, they were scrolling and they grabbed your freebie, and then is this all through email, or maybe they're also seeing additional content because they followed maybe a blog post? How does that happen? Just kind of give me an idea of what that middle nurture part looks like.
It can look, it can look in various ways. It really, what I like to do is to say, what do you feel comfortable with? What do you like doing? And some people love email sequences. I think it's very important to have that nurturing touch point in the back of email sequences, but figuring out what other methods you can use to be visible in front of your audience. Some people like nurturing groups, for instance, and so they create a private Facebook group where they can go in and do little video trainings or post every once in a while just to get their message out there, or on their Facebook business page. So, like yourself, you're doing Facebook Live interviews and stuff like that. There's different methods of getting visible in front of your audience. And but definitely email nurture sequence is one of the things behind the scene. Yeah.
Okay. Kind of hopefully giving a little bit of detail about this journey. And I think before we start talking a little bit more about boosted posts and ads, really wrapping up where you started, which is that a sales funnel is really that journey that, a customer goes from doesn't even know you exist to deciding to spend money on a service or a product that you offer. And that, walking up to somebody and saying, hey, wear my t-shirt or buy something from me. Maybe it works for the Boy Scouts outside of, your grocery store, but that in reality that this is a journey that you have to take people on to know, like, and trust you, and that there is science and a methodology that you don't have to work, you don't need to be spending 80% of your time to get a predictable flow of patients of clients that, you can start on this journey and, build a sustainable, influx of people to buy your product or your service. So
absolutely.
Perfect. So let's talk about, I actually learned this in the workshop that you gave, but the difference between Facebook ads and boosting posts. So Facebook constantly says, hey, do you want to boost this post? Do you want to boost this post? And it's really easy. You just click it, give it however many dollars, and you're done. What's the difference? Which is better and why? Kind of demystify that for us.
Yeah. Facebook does a very good job in sticking the easy button in front of you, because they definitely want to entice people to use Facebook advertising and test it out for the first time, because a lot of people are intimidated by it. So it's an easy point of entry. The difference between boosting a post and using the actual Facebook ad manager to run an ad campaign, to create an ad, is there's 3 different areas. First of all, so to explain it better, when you boost a post, it's the objective of that boosted post is what they call engagement. So you're looking to get likes, shares, and comments. When you do an ad in Facebook Ad Manager, one of the first things they ask you to select is your campaign objective, which is basically what is the goal of this ad that you want to send out. And so in the Ads Manager, you have many more options. You've got engagement, you've got basically traffic, what is the goal of this ad that you want to send out.
Sorry,
so
hold on.
The Ads Manager, you have many more options. You've got engagement.
Are you still there?
I'm still here.
Okay, go for it.
So you have different campaign objectives. In the Ad Manager, you actually have more to select from. So the engagement, traffic, conversion, video views, there's a whole bunch. And the reason why you want to utilize that is because you're telling Facebook what your goal is. And so what Facebook says, its artificial intelligence, its algorithm says, okay, this is your goal. I'm going to find the best people out there that will take action on that goal. So sometimes you don't want engagement, you want someone who actually, you want to pick conversion, where you actually have someone who will take the action and sign up for your list. So that's a major difference, the capability between boosting and doing it through Ad Manager. The other thing is ad placement. So Facebook has all of this real estate out there. They can place your ad in the news feed, they can place it on the right-hand side, they can place it on, in Messenger, sometimes you get ads, and there's even this thing called Audience Network where it's mobile apps and outside websites that they can place your ad. Now, just because it goes out there doesn't mean it's a good piece of real estate to have your ad out there. So when you boost a post, you don't have control over that. If you do it in Ad Manager, you have control over that. And there are certain recommendations I make, in placement, that when you're starting out, that you would want to be in certain areas rather than, just kind of spreading your advertising dollars everywhere where it doesn't make sense. And then targeting on Facebook posts has gotten better over the last year, but it's still not as robust as the targeting capabilities you have in selecting your audience.
So let's talk about targeting. So exactly what does targeting mean? It's a lingo that we often hear. What does it really mean?
So targeting is when you're creating an ad, Facebook allows you to pick an audience that you can send that ad to. And so in their platform, they allow you to really narrow it down and focus in on the best people, the best ideal audience. So you can select demographics, location, age, based on interests, based on different pages they like. So if there's a big fan page and you say, oh, my audience they all love that fan page, you can target that fan page.
So let's stop there. So for example, you've done a little bit of looking in the Ad Manager. I do pediatric, nutrition and family nutrition. One fan page, for example, is super healthy kids. Like people who follow that page might be more likely to, is that the type of, when you're saying fan page, is that what you mean?
Yeah, exactly. Now it has to be a certain size, large enough in order for you to be able to target it. But those are kind of, some of the things, job titles, there's just so much, there's so many layers. So it is really an art to figuring out that audience, but with Facebook, you have that capability of really super focused.
So when you create a target, you create a target. When you think about it, you're creating a target. So you don't want to be spending money advertising to the wrong people.
Right.
Do you create this target and then it's saved, and when you advertise each time, you either adjust your target, or how does that work?
You can actually set up the parameters of your targeting and save that audience for future use.
So that's what they call an audience.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you can save it, name it, and have it available to you to use. But you can change it up all the time. You can try different audiences, but it allows you. It's capable of saving different versions, different parameters that you set for it.
So that's really boosted posts. You don't have the ability to get as specific with your target, which if
Yeah.
you're going to be spending money, if you want to get the most return, you want to be very targeted. Is that kind of...
Yeah, you want to spend if you're going to make the investment in advertising dollars, I know it's a big, scary leap. So you want to do it wisely. So I think it's worth the time in investigating Ads Manager, kind of getting used to navigating that, because I think you'll get more out of your advertising dollars.
So let's talk about the Ad Manager. It's pretty overwhelming when you go in there and you're just starting out. It's kind of this thing you open up and you're like, I think I'm going to do this, and then you're like, I'm going to close that back out because it gets overwhelming quickly. And I think if you're type A like me, you want to feel like you completely understand, and then you either just give up. Excuse me, as you know, I'm suffering from a cold, so I have to get some more tea. Excuse me. If someone that's just starting out and kind of getting their feet wet and learning about ads, what resources do you recommend? How do you learn the Ad Manager besides just playing around in there?
Playing around with it is good as long as you don't activate an ad. But Facebook has what's called Facebook Blueprint, and if you just Google that, you'll find it. And it's their whole tutorial section on their advertising platform. And they do a really good job in teaching you the basics, just kind of the how-tos, where things are located and stuff like that. So I think that is the best place to start in really getting comfortable with, what all the different pieces are, what it means, and how it all kind of flows together, a campaign structure, etc. There are other resources out there. I think you have to be careful because of Facebook changes constantly. I mean, last month we just had a huge change where they combined two of the advertising editors together and merge them into one. So it's they're constantly changing things. So stuff that's out there from 1.5 years ago, 2 years is outdated. So whatever you find as a resource outside of Facebook Blueprint, just make sure that it's more current and up to date, because it is very fluid and constantly, you have to keep on top of all the changes. You'll go into Ad Manager and think, oh yeah, this is where this button is. And then it's like, oh, okay, well that button's not there anymore. They've moved it. So
yeah, actually I've had that experience just going in a few times after taking a course, and I was like, wait a minute, this thing doesn't look anything like it looked like a couple of months ago. And I think that's kind of frustrating as an end user doesn't spend every day in trying to figure out how to do a Facebook ad. So Facebook Blueprint, I wrote that down, and I'll definitely put it in the notes that learning about. I'm a person who believes in outsourcing certain tasks that I think when you're running a nutrition business, there's a lot of things to learn, and I want to do more of what I feel that I enjoy doing and that I'm really good at. And I think figuring out where to make investments in my business. So for example, I invested in someone to help build my website. One, I wanted it done quicker, and two, I didn't want to mess it up. And I think as I've looked into the Facebook Ad Manager, that the reality is this isn't like baking brownies. The box there, it's not 3 ingredients and mix it up and throw it in the oven. There's a considerable depth and breadth of knowledge to really get the most out of, advertising on Facebook. And so I think as I ask you, hey, how do you learn the Ad Manager? I feel like it's asking someone who has, 20 years of experience in functional nutrition. Well, I have 5 minutes till I'm going to see this client. Tell me everything I need to know. Like, is that practical? How can you, it's not really possible to, unless this is really your area of expertise, you're really just scratching the surface as far as understanding everything that goes into an effective ad campaign.
It is, and it's ever changing. So you want someone who, it's true, you want someone who is constantly learning, and it's not just something that they picked up and are doing just on the side of things, because it is constant changes, keeping up with the updates and how they're, what are the best practices for conversions and things like that.
And this is where I think you bring so much value in that, along with having this expertise in, sales funnels and Facebook advertising, is that you are a dietitian and that you understand what we do. And I think sometimes getting over that hurdle of who we are and what our practice is, that you can just get through all of that quickly, and you inherently understand what we do. And I think that can't be overstated. The value of that alone to a nutrition business is huge.
I hope so.
Yeah, I definitely think so. You just know what it is a dietitian does. So we in your workshop that I took, I keep mentioning that, we talked about the Facebook pixel. So I honestly had no idea what the Facebook pixel was. And I want you to talk about what is the Facebook pixel and why it's important, back to kind of this whole targeting and audiences. So let's talk about what the pixel is.
Sure. So everyone that has a Facebook business page has an ad account, and with that ad account comes this mysterious Facebook pixel. And basically all it is a little snippet of code that Facebook provides that's individual to your ad account. And so what you do is you install that little piece of code onto your website, and it's like installing it's a tracking code. So for instance, if someone visits your website or any landing pages or any other pages that you have, once they go to your website and they open the door and they're in your website, they get stamped by this pixel. They're marked. They've been there. So now when they go back to Facebook, Facebook documents, hey, so-and-so went to XYZ website and has shown an interest in that particular topic. So they keep all of those data points. So you can, why it's important, even if you're not ready to do Facebook advertising, why it's important to have that pixel on your website is that you're collecting data of people that have shown interest. And what you can do in your Facebook ad account is actually create a custom audience that says, Facebook put together a list of people, all the people that have visited my website in the last 180 days or the last 30 days. So you can create that audience and save it for future use.
So for example, all of us are working really hard on social media. Let's say we post, whether it's recipes or blog posts or whatever we're putting out there, that someone clicks and reads our blog post, even if they don't opt in for our freebie. The fact that they clicked to our website, Facebook has stamped them and said, hey, now when I go back and if I decide to spend money on advertising, I can target them because I know they obviously have been on my website. Is that right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly how it works. And so once you have enough data, once you have enough visitors to your website and you have a certain number of people in that custom audience that you created, all your website visitors, now you can tell Facebook, hey, these are the people that like me. Can you look for more people that have the same characteristics? And so what that is called creating a lookalike audience. And so Facebook will say, hey, yeah, we have all of these people over here that kind of seem the same. If you want to send an ad, send it to them. And so it's a great way to expand your reach and find more people that are more likely to interact and engage with your business.
Oh, that's really interesting. I've heard the term lookalike, but I guess I didn't really understand that it was taking the pixel and kind of your prior site visitors, and you can create kind of it'll basically say who you're similar to. So they may not have visited your website, but because they like a lot of the things
Same
similar,
thing.
they're going to get your ad as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So it's so having the pixel installed allows you to create those audiences to target directly that are a little bit warmer. And also it creates this great base seed audience to work off of and create new audiences. But with the pixel code, you can kind of take it a step further, because Facebook gives you that base pixel code, but then they also allow you to segment your audience a little bit by giving you additional little codes, which they call event codes. So if you have a specific, say a sales page, for instance, or your work with me page, you can install an additional little code on that page. So then you can create an audience specific to people that landed only on that page and say, wow, they showed interest in my work with me page. Maybe I need to send them an ad that kind of gives them that little push over the edge and gets them, to give me a call kind of thing, and book a discovery call. So so there's that base pixel code paired with that event code that you can use in your advertising strategy, definitely for cold audiences and then warm audiences and retargeting, all kinds of good stuff.
Okay, I have a couple questions here, and I want to make sure we tackle them as we go. Someone was agreeing with you. Deneen was saying, yes, the hustle to reach my clients takes up most of my time. And so I think, definitely touching a nerve there that, it does, having a predictable stream of clients. My phone here is giving me fit, so I want to try to get back to these comments. So, okay, so let me click here. See if we can grab them again. Corin is asking, what if you're not necessarily looking for new clients, but want to promote your online products like books? Can a sales funnel still be useful?
Absolutely. There are a lot of different funnels specific to different products, or selling books, or whatever it is, selling products. There are different ways to handle each situation. And it's basically, the framework is kind of the same, where you figure out a way, how do I attract the people that would be most interested in my book or my product or my online course? What is it that I can show them initially to entice them into interacting with me, starting that conversation? And then what else can I provide going down the line in order to entice them to make that purchase? Some products are lower cost, where it's a very quick journey, and higher price products or programs take a little bit longer time nurturing. But absolutely, sales funnels work in all different types of lead generation, product, online sales, coaching, etc.
Yeah, that's we have one more question, if I can get back to it here, from Lorena. So don't worry, Lorena, we'll get back to your question here when my phone starts cooperating. So we'll tackle that one here in a minute. So we talked a little bit about the Facebook pixel, and I think for me that was a huge aha moment, that I'm working so hard on social media to get people over, and my whole focus was, well, they have to opt in, right? Yes, I want them to opt in, but the idea that I was leaving all of these people on the table, that I could have stamped them, like how many visitors to my website, that I could further warm them up or nurture them with some advertising, that I just left it there. Like I didn't capture them. And so I immediately after that workshop went and figured out, actually had my web person help me figure out how to get the Facebook pixel on my website. So I haven't done anything with it. Like you say, you can't do anything with it if you're not collecting the information. That, going forward, when I, making that investment in advertising, that now I have this audience that I can leverage, that I have this information. So I want to thank you, one, for the workshop that you gave, and two, I'm really, happy that I now am collecting this, information that I can use going forward.
Absolutely. So
myths that you hear about Facebook ads, what do you, when you hear it, you're like, oh, that's not right. What are some common myths that you hear?
Well, a lot of times, one of the first things is my audience isn't on Facebook. That's one of the biggest myths. It's like, oh no, my audience isn't on Facebook. There's no way I'm going to find the right people. And the reality is, Facebook is just so huge. There's over 2 billion users, and like a billion of them are active daily. And something like the average time is 20 minutes people spend at least a day on Facebook. In Facebook, I'm a heavy user because obviously I need to be, but I'm sure anybody in what your group or any other group, they're on there. So definitely, if you're targeting an audience, you will be able to find it on Facebook. That's one of the myths for sure. Another big one is that Facebook advertising is only for big businesses and big brands. And that is so not the case. I think this is one of the first times in history that the playing field has been leveled out, and really the point of entry for advertising for even small businesses is so easy, and there's no barrier. Usually it was the cost of advertising was so expensive, whether you had to go out and print, these glossy flyers or newspaper ads or magazine ads or, whatever that is, that's all costly stuff. But with Facebook ads, you definitely, it's leveled the playing field, and anyone really can go in and even get their content out there to try and reach more people for literally dollars a day. So,
can we talk about that? I've noticed because of the reach of, I think, organic, you post, you write a new blog post that you spend a lot of time on, and it's really, it would be very relevant to people that are interested in your topic, but nobody sees it. And so I'm actually seeing a lot on my feed of sponsored, basically just of your average Joe blog post. This seems to be, do you have to basically, it's pay to play now if you want your content seen by pretty much anyone. And then I see people just using their personal page versus the business page because the reach, so many dietitians don't necessarily have a business page. Can we talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. First of all, you always want to use your business page. First, you shouldn't be using your personal page for any kind of business interaction because it's actually against the Facebook policy and terms. So you don't want to do that.
Okay.
So you definitely want to use your business page. Organic reach, you've heard there was that big algorithm change a few months ago, and you heard, organic reach is dead. And pretty well, that kind of was the last nail in the coffin, but It's been going down for the last 2.5 years, and it is becoming a pay-to-play environment. And so what Facebook is doing is freeing up real estate space, and clearing all of the organic traffic and making more room for advertising dollars. Now, you can still get organic reach, it's just not very good. So I think when you start wanting to grow your business and kind of really wanting to expand that reach, that you have to consider paid advertising to kind of get your message out there to more people. There are things that you can do on your business page to help your organic reach, and even, if you do things consistently, it actually helps your advertising as well. Facebook kind of rewards you. Because what they're looking for, their goal is the end user experience. They want people to live on Facebook and enjoy it. And they want to go through the newsfeed slowly and not kind of do that fast scroll. So they want people on there that are going to create good content and good engagement with their audience, whether it's organic or whether it's, the advertising. So when you post consistently on, just on your Facebook business page, just get that interaction with people. And then when you do have your spend advertising dollars and do a post, you'll be rewarded a little bit for having a good overall, being a good Facebook citizen, maybe.
No, and I think you hear that often. You have to feed Facebook. Like it's this living, organism that you have to keep it happy, and all of these intricacies. Like, I just want to, it gets kind of, it's a whole, like, advertising on Facebook and growing your business is a profession in and of itself.
Yeah.
And I think, I just find it it's so eye-opening when I hear you talk about, these little aspects that can make such a huge difference in whether or not people see what you're putting out. We spend so much time creating beautiful content, whether it's an image or, the article that we wrote or a new recipe that we want to help people, but people need to be, if they never see what we put out there, then, there could be helping us help people. Getting it in front of the right people so they can take action and start their journey to, working with us. So
and I think
that's good.
And it's not a matter of like just constantly posting. That's not what I'm advocating. I think it's quality stuff that you put out there that has the right attracts the right people, and really leveraging what you put out there in a smart, efficient way. I think that's important. It's just not, some people, you'll see people that just post and post and post and post, but the quality isn't there. You don't have to post crazy like that, but it's posting quality and then interacting with your audience on what you post. That is helpful.
That's
and then
good advice.
So
those myths, I think that, you brought up a lot of them that, my people, I'm not going to find the right people on Facebook, and, and I think that I really appreciate that you made the point that it levels the playing field. But you brought up another topic, and I want to dive into, none of us have a huge budget as far as marketing goes. And I think we're always trying to figure out, you talked about glossy, advertising flyers, and, we're trying multiple ways to grow, our business, whether that's direct mail or paying for advertising and other, how does Facebook advertising compare to other forms, done well, if you have the right targeting? How does it compare to other advertising methods?
I think it's one of the lowest cost methods to get into advertising compared to other methods that are out there. Literally for, a couple of dollars a day, you can get started and get your content seen by more people, and get them to engage with your brand more. And then as you expand that strategy, you can start, for a little bit more per day, you can start running conversion ads that actually get them to opt into your email list. So that way you kind of own that email list, and you can start sending them an email nurture sequence in the background, and you're building that client, ideal client audience, potential audience base of yours. And then there's not many ways that you can advertise where you can identify the people that are warmer and have interacted in a certain way with your brand, and retarget them with specific ads that really kind of speak to where they are at in their journey. Something as simple as, I'm going to send an ad to all the people that read this particular blog post that identified this issue. And then in that same ad, amplifying that issue and introducing some of the solutions that you may have to that particular problem. So there's really nothing. I mean, if you think of print advertising or any traditional method that can do that kind of,
I actually see kind of some dovetail with, I talked a couple interviews ago about content upgrades, and, someone who, people obviously don't always get to the end of your blog post, or like part 2, or just really interacting differently, that people who have touched certain content on your site, you can, that maybe they didn't reach your opt-in, or maybe they didn't at the time, but maybe they would if they saw it again, or with a different graphic, or just, maybe
there's a lot of distraction out there, so who knows?
Or maybe a blog post was really popular and you decide, hey, why don't I offer a freebie? I might be able to convert some people, that now you've got all of that, you have all that pixel information. You can just go back and nicely and cleanly capture all those people who consumed that content. It's just mind-blowing. I love this, Luisa. Having so much fun here.
Absolutely. You're actually able to listen to your audience. Kind of reply on the go with your ad strategy. And
I think, you just kind of have to get over, for me, it's this whole pay to play, that I just want to try to do it without spending money. And I think the reality is you're going to be, Facebook has set the rules that in order to really, it doesn't mean you have to pay all of the time, but that it's an investment that isn't necessarily, you spend money on your business routinely, and that this is an important way that can grow your business. So I kind of feels less, I don't want to say it feels less dirty, but it feels less like, but it's actually empowering. It's like I have all of this information about people that want to work with me or want more information about my business. It's just kind of using that in a new way. So
yeah, absolutely.
I like that.
To think of it less of an expense, because we have a lot of business expensive, just operational and things like that. But you have to think of it as an investment, because if done right, it is going to give you a return on investment. So obviously, people advertise for that reason, because they want to get twice as much, at least 3 times as much of what they put into it.
That's very interesting. So, biggest mistakes that you see people make and best practices to follow when setting up, let's say, your first ad campaign. Let's say today you're like, okay, Luisa, I'm going to jump into that ad manager. I've opened it 3 times and I've closed out because, today's the day where I'm going to dabble. I'm going to spend $3 or whatever, and I'm just going to play. I'm just going to try. What advice would you give?
So when you're setting up your first ad campaign, you're going to see 3 different sections when you're creating that ad campaign. The first is your campaign level, then you have your ad set level, and then you have your actual ad level where you're creating, the image and the text for the ad. A lot of times what I see people do wrong is that first level where they pick their campaign objective. And as I spoke about before, you're basically telling Facebook what your goal is and the type of people you want to find. So, and utilizing that artificial intelligence to get the right people to see your ad. So a lot of times I see people pick the wrong objective. They'll pick a traffic objective, for instance, when really what they want is a conversion objective where they want people to opt into their email list. So that's the number one thing that I see wrong. It's kind of giving Facebook the wrong information to look for a different type of persona on Facebook. And then a second thing I see as a big mistake is when they go to that second level, the ad set level, and they're setting up that audience that they're targeting, and they keep it way too broad, and they're not narrowing it down. There's kind of a little sweet spot when you're running ads, and you'll see when you're in that ad set level that as you make selections on your targeting and who, women, ages 30 to 50, when you slowly start putting in the different information. On the right-hand side, there's this little audience meter, and it'll give you the size of the audience. And so you want to keep an eye on that and try to narrow it down to where you're like at 100,000 to, 600,000 in audience size. That
seems like so many people.
Seems like so many.
It seems like so many.
But if you go in and you just leave it as women 30 to 50 in the U.S., it'll be millions and millions. And that kind of broad blanketing, it's just, you're not using your advertising dollars well. So just understanding to kind of bring it down a little bit and start with a smaller audience. You'll be more successful with reaching better people. And then that whole ad placement, another problem people come up with is, remember how I said the different real estate areas? Facebook automatically, in that ad set level, selects automatic placements. You want to click on the edit placements and pick and choose where you want your ad to show up. And I recommend when you're just starting out, just stick to the desktop feed. Don't worry about all of the other stuff. Just have it in the main feed. You don't want to spend your dollars on all of these other areas.
That's really...
And yeah. And then finally, after you do finally set up, pull the trigger, and your ad is running, we have this tendency of like, oh my God, it's not working, and it's shown it to 10 people so far. So just don't make any quick judgments. It's like any kind of data point where you have to have enough data run through it in order to make a determination. Is it a good ad? Is it a bad ad? So give it, 48 hours, let it run and see how it performs.
Yeah, we didn't even dive into the topic of,
No.
the ad, the text on it and the graphics. I mean, this is a huge topic, and I think not possible to cover in just a short period of time.
Yeah, there's a lot of nuances for sure.
Yeah, and I think that kind of, I think I could talk to you, Luisa, for probably hours on it. I think we could do we could keep going. And I think that really points to the fact that this is a topic that is very pertinent to nutrition business owners. But how can people continue the conversation? They've heard what you've been talking about, and they think, I want to tackle Facebook ads, but I need what kind of tools do you provide? How do people work with you or get more information about Wish Funnels?
Sure. Obviously, they can go to my website, wishfunnels.com. I have some articles there that kind of help with certain things, and you can see there how you could work with me directly as well. I have my Facebook page that you can follow, and I'm actually pushing myself to do some more. I'm more like the tech geek behind the computer, so one of my goals this year is to be more visible and do some video trainings on my page. And I'm also, you can also send me a direct message on Messenger, and that'd be great. But I'm also excited because I'm going to be partnering up with Amber Gorley.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to be launching a mastermind program in the next coming weeks. And it's going to be all about conquering your mindset as well as tackling all of those marketing pieces, the sales funnel and the Facebook ads for your nutrition business. So definitely keep an eye out for that, because that's coming up in the next few weeks.
Awesome. That's really exciting. I think we're not robots. I think the reality is this is really hard. It can be discouraging, and that so much of our success has to do with our mind, and that really putting, the tech and the, that aspect together with keeping our mind right. That's just awesome. I'm so excited that the two of you have put together such an awesome opportunity for dietitians to really take it to the next level, or health professionals in general.
Yeah, excited too.
So awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on today. And
thank you for having me.
I am really grateful for all of the wisdom that you shared today. So thanks again. And everyone, if you want to touch base with Luisa afterwards, you can put comments, and I'm sure you'll check back and address them. And then also feel free to visit her website, wishfunnels.com.
Great. Thanks so much.
Mm-hmm.